Thank you for your patience. Plenary session 1 is now beginning. The moderator is Dr. Jong-wee Park. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the great MC, our student actually from Okayama City. So officially, I'd like to welcome to our Global RCE conference. As the head of the secretariat, I really thank everyone for here from all over the places, all over the world actually to join us to celebrate 20 years of RCE. I would like to actually call on some of the countries that I know from the list of the participants. So if I call on your country, you just say hello or hi, I'm here, right? I saw like 30 countries all over the world that were presented here, but I don't know how many of us actually are from those registered countries. So let's start with Argentina. Yay, hi, thank you very much. Australia. Hello, thank you. Brazil? Brazil? No, Burkina Faso, of course, our princess. For tomorrow's keynote. Cameroon? No Cameroon? Okay, so Canada. Roger, yes. Thank you for coming all the way from Canada. China. We have a big delegation from China. Yay, thank you. Costa Rica. Costa Rica, no? Denmark. Yay, thank you. Ecuador. Germany. Thank you. Greece. Greece. Philippines. Thank you. Do we have anyone from France? France. India. Anupam, you're from India? India. Indonesia. Great. Of course, Japan. Japan, yes. Thank you very much for hosting us. Kazakhstan. Nafisa, our team. Korea, my home country. Hey, welcome to Japan. Kyrgyzstan. Thank you for coming. Malaysia. Yay, thank you. Mongolia. Thank you for coming. Mozambique. Yay, Papel from our team. Nepal. Nepal. Thank you. Namaste. Nigeria. Yay. Spain. Thank you for coming. UAE. Do we have anybody from UAE? No? Okay. Uganda. No? The UK. Yes. The US. Thank you. And Vietnam. Thank you very much. Did I miss any country? Oh, okay. Netherlands, sorry. Netherlands, yes. I saved it for the best. Any other countries that I missed? Yes. Kenya, Czech Republic. Yes, Kenya and Czech Republic, sorry. Yeah, our regional advisors and youth coordinators. Any other countries that I missed? Okay, that's great then. Okay. Okay. So, my name is Jong-wee Park again. I'm the head of the secretariat for RCE Global Service Center. And we are here, over 180 participants also live stream participating from YouTube. So your friends probably watching you here online. This session is the first plenary session after opening and keynote. Really, we are talking about how this RC has been thriving for 20 years. Now, zoom into the regional context, right? Without the regional agility to responding to their own challenges and situation and context of the local issues, the RCE would have not been thriving this much. So we invited this very, how can I say, fundamental or foundational figures of our RCE network. And for the next 90 minutes, we'll have a privilege to hear from our RCE regional advisors, also the founding members of RCE, how these RCEs has been advancing the global agenda into the local action, and also what their milestones has been in their local community and what their visions would be for the next years to come. So I'm very much honored to moderate this session. Let me first introduce our distinguished regional advisors and founding member of the RCE. Professor Kazuhiko Takemoto, you have been already seen him many times this morning, is currently the president of Overseas Environment Corporation, but you probably would know him better as the founding director of RCE movement. He founded this RCE network in his tenure at UNUIS, and he also served as the vice minister for global environment affairs in the MOEJ before he joined the UNUIS. So thank you, Professor Takemoto, for joining us again. Dr. Catherine Mbaisi is our representing our regional advisor for Africa, Dr. Akpezi, who is the regional advisor for Africa, and unfortunately she's not able to come. So now Dr. Mbaisi is representing the African region. She is currently Deputy Director of Environment Education at NEMA, Kenya, and the National Coordinator of 9 RCEs in Kenya. So welcome. Next is our Regional Advisor for Americas, Roger Petry. He's a professor of philosophy at University of Regina in Canada, and he served as the coordinator of the RC Saskatchewan as well, since it was acknowledged in 2007. Thank you very much. Dr. Betsy King is the regional advisor for Europe, and she served as a development manager at RC Scotland since its launch in 2013. She used to be a geography teacher, and I still remember how you actually cultivate the RCE youth coordinators in your region and facilitate their activities actually as like teacher's perspective. I still remember that, very friendly and empathetic in a way to communicate with your youth coordinators. So here we go, our regional advisor for Europe. Last but not least, of course, Dr. Eun-kyung Park is the founder of RCE Tongyang, which is one of the first 7 RCEs acknowledged in 2007. And she has been serving as one of the 2 regional advisors of Asia Pacific together with Dr. Munira. And she used to be the vice chair of Korean National Commission for UNESCO as well, and chairperson of Korea ESD Committee. Thank you very much. So we will start with a short presentation by each regional advisor on how this region has been agile to the different contexts and challenges in their region and their future visions for the region as well. So I'd like to invite first, we go for the alphabetical order of the region. So we first go for African region. So Dr. Catherine, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joy, for that kind introduction. As just to move on, the Africa region has about 30 to 35 acknowledged RCEs, but 32 have been identified as very active. I know that here we have about 3 that are represented here. I hope they can see themselves among there. And they are doing a lot of work in each RCE, which will just highlight, summarize a few of them. These regions, they serve as local and regional hubs for education for sustainable development. Because of the nature of their constitution, right from the universities, the communities, bringing on board all the knowledge that is entrenched in the communities and bringing them to the RCEs. They have been very powerful regional hubs where people can discuss, find solutions, co-create solutions, and address their challenges. We have a lot of trainings, public awareness, especially on the contemporary issues affecting the communities. For example, there are a lot of training for the teachers, teacher trainings, and the communities. Given the number of youthful engagement there, we also have a number of innovations that come out of these regional hubs. The RCEs have also been very key on addressing the triple planetary challenge of climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution, and waste management. As you may be aware, these are issues that are globally being discussed, and these regional hubs, I'm calling the regional RCEs, are also very key in contributing to the discussions, finding solutions to these challenges. These regions, so far, we've had 14 meetings held in different RCEs. The last one was held in RCE North Rift in Kenya. The other one was in Eswatini. Here we've also had one meeting in Uganda, RCE Mina, and these different meetings in different regions helps to bring the whole Africa in one RCE, and therefore they're able to learn from each RCE, because each RCE presents different challenges, also presents different ways of looking at issues, and this helps in sharing experiences across the continent. The RCE coordinators work together, they exchange knowledge. One, they have a group, especially for the coordinators, where they share knowledge and challenges. Like I've said, the conferences have been a very big way of working together and exchanging knowledge. When we meet, we have discussions, thematic areas. We also see exhibitions, see innovations that are being, have been developed in various RCEs. We also contribute to each country's development agenda. Each country have their own development agenda, and these RCEs in each region have been very key to support the country's development agenda. For example, in Kenya, we have what we call the 15 billion tree campaign, and RCEs there have contributed that to producing tree seedlings, growing trees, rallying the youth to grow trees, and also to make a living when they sell the tree seedlings. There are also a number of projects that are implemented. The RCEs, some of them have been very innovative. They write proposals and they're able to implement projects. And we have seen some of the RCEs win awards because of the projects that they are implementing. Then we also work closely with the government, because we have to work within the government provisions, the government regulations. The RCEs have also now been very key in implementing the government agenda, government regulations to help implement the SDGs. Youth engagement. As you are aware, the African region have a very youthful population. So the engagement of youth is very key. The youth coordinator is here, and he has been able to have a very vibrant youth engagement, and later we shall hear from him. There are a number of challenges. One, leadership and governance gaps. Sometimes for the youth, for the RCs, there are gaps when it comes to leadership. Maybe when the leader change, when we don't get a replacement, sometimes that RC goes down in management. And this sometimes has led to some RCs not being active because of the change of leadership. Then we also have the implementation of jointed activities. This is because of maybe reporting. Some RCs, when they don't report, then we don't know what is happening. Even when their communities or groups are working and they don't report, we lose track. There's also fragmented data and monitoring. And this, like I've said, comes from poor reporting or non-consistent reporting. Then we are not able to see or to monitor how each RC is growing. Weak institutionalization, and this is because some RCs, the institutions where they are hosted, sometimes when there is change in management, they get challenges of being recognized or being supported. I mentioned that there are a lot of innovations that are coming up out of RCs, and sometimes the uptake of these RC innovations are not very, very good. And therefore, we need, then there's the bit of resource mobilization. This is also human and financial. Then the issue of resource management challenges. As you can see, one of the biggest resources in the Africa is the arable land. There is a lot of challenge there. Then the policy and legal issues. We have a lot of opportunities. The youthful population, the universities, there is an opportunity for capacity building and training. Therefore, we need to see how we can develop proposals to help educate people so that they can improve on the way that we implement ESD and the projects. We need to leverage on the ICT. We need to have climate change dialogue and educational training. And we need to improve on our reporting. We are thinking of having a website and having a periodic magazine for influencing, and then promote partnership and collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. So I invite our regional advisor for Americas, Roger. I forgot to mention, actually, we only have a 5-minute for each presentation as we rehearsed, right? Yes, please.
All right, well, I'm very pleased to be able to be with you today, and I also appreciate my colleagues from the Americas who've made a long journey to be here. I also want to say a bit about, I mean, I'm a philosopher by training, and in a way, philosophy is a very old part of the university in the sense that it's pre-disciplinary. The idea of a philosopher was you applied your knowledge to yourself. It was meant to be transformative, and it was meant to be integrated. And part of my love of this journey of RCEs in the Americas has been the idea that as RCEs, we are learning to develop wisdom at different scales. And what does it mean to be an RCE belonging at a continental level is a whole new way of self-discovery, but for our own RCEs as is our own regional development at a geographic scale. So we've had a journey in the Americas. We now have 30 acknowledged RCEs in 10 countries. What I love about the RCEs is it's in the Americas, we're always pushing boundaries. So there's a lot of artificial barriers. Of course, often they are political. And the fact that we have 2 RCEs that are cross-border RCEs, Detroit, Windsor, and Borderlands RCE, really exemplifies that people are yearning for new ways of connecting, even when there are very difficult barriers, particularly in the Americas right now. We are learning a lot about how to connect across borders. The other thing too, in the Americas, we have 2 island RCEs and relatively recent RCEs. And again, oftentimes those parts of the continents are kind of forgotten, right? But Puerto Rico and Hawaii are key components about us learning about our relationship to water and climate change that we are very grateful for. And our newest RCE Greater Cincinnati, even what we're learning about climate migration within the United States itself is happening in that area. So what are some of the key areas of RCE America's activity? Biodiversity and conservation, absolutely. We have economies that historically have been very transformative, whether it's in agriculture or mining. And people are kind of standing up and saying, no, we have to preserve these areas. And RCEs are the ones taking leadership in creating new biodiversity reserves in a number of areas. We also talk about transformative knowledge, transformation of formal education. And again, sometimes our state leadership or provincial leadership isn't showing what they need to. RCE British Columbia North Cascades is here, and they basically just created a whole new curriculum for their provincial environment ministry around environmental education. So that's something RCEs can do. A whole institution approach to a region and continent. Again, Indigenous knowledge, we need a whole knowledge approach to doing sustainable development. And I think a lot of our RCEs tap into that Indigenous way of knowing. New learning spaces, of course. The other thing, of course, the Americas, particularly North America, we are known for overconsumption of resources. And so it's perhaps not a surprise that responsible consumption and production is a key area. How do we get together? We've been trying to come together on monthly meetings. We now have youth monthly meetings that do that. We have had regular conferences up until 2025, and we decided, well, you know, let's try and set out an agenda for our upcoming conferences so we can plan well ahead, right? It takes time to plan a conference, and so we've now set our next 3 conferences. Another thing I mentioned philosophically, it's about being aware of yourself. Well, how do we become aware of our continental region? We do that by surveys. We survey our RCEs about governance. We survey our RCEs about their activities in terms of the priority action areas and in terms of youth. And of course, we're just learning not only how do we engage at our own local regions, but what are all the synergies and things we can build between our RCEs. Some of the challenges, each in fact is an opportunity. I mean, COVID really knocked us back a lot of RCEs, but that fragility means, oh, we need to work together, right? It's actually a resource for collaboration. The loss of habitats in the Americas, that has created a space for RCEs to really shine when our national governments and state governments maybe aren't doing what they need to be doing. Tariffs, boy, if you've been in the Americas lately, Canadians are kind of feeling this. We now need to do regional economies. But instead of building the old regional economy, wait a second, we can build sustainable development regional economies, which are a response to tariff boundaries and new ways of learning. Similarly, I mentioned some of our work around curriculum, the idea that we need to be building new social supports. And finally, in a space of growing authoritarianism, isn't it wonderful that we have RCEs that are independent learning environments that embrace academic freedom and share that freedom with their communities, right? That's the one key contribution of universities when we build these living laboratories. Everybody is now a scholar, right? Everybody is a lifelong learner, but we need to share that precious freedoms that we have within universities with our wider communities. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Roger, for a very comprehensive summary of how the RCEs in Americas have been doing. Now I invite Dr. Park for the Asia Pacific region. Same 5 minutes.
I'll try to be on time. Thank you, Jongi. I'm very happy to report the Asia Pacific region, which is the largest region in global level. In population-wise, we are 60% of global population, and in economic level, Asia Pacific covers 30% of the whole economy. So for this meeting, we got a report that 67% of participants for this 14th global meeting was from Asia Pacific. And so I'm very proud of this. And UN officially divided our region into 5 sub-regions, according to the circle in the left. So according to that 5 divisions, 25 RCEs from East Asia, 24 from Southeast Asia, and South Asia occupy 20%, and 8 are from the Pacific. And Kyrgyzstan is the only one from Central Asia. So we are quite a good body in the RCE movement. So I really appreciate all the Asia Pacific representatives here. So we are all good one team working for this global framework of ESD. So during this framework, starting from 2005 in UN decade, along with decade and end of decade in 2014, when there's the end of decade in Nagoya, we have a huge, very, very impressive meeting when your Japanese prince was there, and we are well served. So then GAP, Global Action Program, was continued through ESD framework. Then right now we are ESD 23. So along this framework, our number of RC has been increased from 5, 60, 72, and 82. So now we are 82, Asia Pacific, which covers 40% of all RCs. What is the major theme in sustainability in our area? It's similar to other regions. So we are trying to integrate ESD to schools, teacher training, and community learning, and strengthen climate adaptation and risk reduction, biodiversity, water and food security, empower the youth leadership. And we have community resilience by supporting local economies, indigenous knowledge, and livelihoods. And advanced sustainable urban development with eco-friendly infrastructure and smart planning was also a very important portion of our themes. And policy integration, of course, and governance for sustainability. And we also expanded outreach through digital technologies and ICT tools along with this AI period coming and covering our life. Okay, how do we make these themes to be realized? In very early stage, in 2008, Asia Pacific region started the first Asia Pacific regional meeting at RCE Tongyong. So it's only 3 years after that, RCE movement started. And in 2009, we have RCE, regional meeting in Delhi. And in very interesting point here is in Delhi meeting, we introduced the concept of Sejatra. In the keynote speech, Dr. Jurun mentioned about this Sejatra in our area. So at Delhi meeting, this regional meeting participants think about, we have to bring out something common together and had some goals. So that was the time started to think about Sejatra, as our Asia Pacific kind of common cause. And the next regional meetings, I think it was 2012 and 14. Tongyong even suggested that we built up a huge, beautiful Sejatra forest. So we dedicated that center to be the hub of Asia Pacific region, RC for RCE. That's so we have a center. So we brought up international ESD forum and a scholarship exchange and intern exchange that tried to become the hub of that our region. And in 2015, I would like to report that at 8th Asia Pacific meeting, so we established the Asia Pacific RCE Coordinating Committee. This is very good institution to formalize and strengthen our regional collaboration. And it continues, and I would like to report that we also have, we have, it's already time? Oh my goodness, time goes so fast. Anyway, so we have institutionalized our regional, meeting together. So we have a I'm just perplexed. So we have Asia Pacific Coordinated Committee, have been organized to institutionalize our, place to be more effective way of having our program to be realized. And we also have national coordination through Japan and Korea. And actually in India, you also had this national level coordination. And we very much emphasize youth initiatives with RCE, Dobong, and Tongyong, and New Delhi. We very value this coordination of youth people. So way forward, we try to achieve capacity building, curriculum development, and policy advocacy. But key challenges here relies on individual champions. We are relying too much. And limited funding, weak institutionalization. So in future, we would like to institutionalize RCE structures and strengthen governance and engagement with government and policymakers, and cross-sector collaboration and wider stakeholder involvement, and secure diversified funding sources and partnership to reach our goal to enhance impact of Asia-Pacific RCEs for 23 and beyond. Thank you much.
We'll now move on to the last presentation by Europe, by Betsy.
Thank you all for such a warm welcome to Okayama and Japan. As Youngwee said, my name's Betsy King. I'm from Scotland in the UK, and currently I'm the regional advisor for Europe. I was also privileged to attend the conference here 10 years ago, and was trying to look for myself in that photograph and didn't see myself at the end of the UN decade, a younger me 10 years ago. My experience, though, in the network, working in the network, was in 2012, at the end of the decade, when we set up our RCE in Scotland. And at this time, of course, there were already many RCEs in Europe. So many of the 2005 RCEs are still thriving. There's been a steady growth of RCEs in Europe since 2005. As you can see here, there are now 48 in 22 countries, incredibly varied. Some are whole countries. Scotland, we would consider ourselves a whole country, part of the UK, but there are others that are whole countries too. We are also have RCEs that cross countries between France and Spain, for example, and others. Some are islands, as you can see. Some cover whole regions, so very, very diverse. And the common feature is that we are all partnerships, and we are coordinated by and consist of committed champions from universities, NGOs, local government, and beyond. We continue to grow, and We have new RCEs joining, Basque Country, Navarre, South Poland, recent joined RCEs, and more that are very interested in joining. So we continue to grow, we continue to thrive. And why is this? Well, really, need to look at the European context. We, as a region, faced considerable sustainable development challenges. And these are, some of them are common to other regions, particularly climate change. Conflict was mentioned as a massive challenge within Europe. Habitat destruction, biodiversity loss, social and economic disparities. So very, very wide challenges. And we're also aware of our historical and current impact on the rest of the world. Our footprint on the rest of the world is huge. So what impact does this have in Europe? Well, we have long worked and recognized that education and reorientating education and learning is really an important aspect to address all of these challenges. And we do currently in Europe have strategic frameworks. I mentioned a few there, which the EU, the UNECE, for example, you may be aware of these frameworks, but across the region, there are many and varied education policies nationally and regionally. And this is where RCEs are particularly well placed to work in these regional contexts. So we are globally relevant. Hang on. And context specific. You can see these two particular images which really show you how we are addressing these challenges specific to individual contexts. We address them through innovation. There are so many examples of innovation across Europe in our RCEs. So many creative and imaginative responses to the challenges. The images here, for example, is RCE East Midlands bringing together partners to deliver climate action training. And this training is delivered not just to schools, but art-based organizations, neighborhood-level charities, businesses, regional economic partnerships. So it's our ability to bring multi-stakeholder partnerships together. RCE Czechia, for example, who we have here, this image of students carrying out short-term practical local action projects which benefit their immediate environment, things like transport and interpreting local heritage and the local environment. So we are globally irrelevant, but context specific is at the center. And we do this through partnership working. I think the core, really, value of the area, of the region is partnership. And that is the strength of the RCEs. Our partnerships are at every level. And usually you see this in our RCEs, and I'm sure yours are all the same, demonstrated by lots of logos. Here, example from Basque Country, Navarre. Just the sorts of logos, sorts of levels of engagement. RCE Scotland, multi-sectoral, so schools, but also that international connection. And just choosing those two examples. Partnerships are within our own RCEs, but also partnerships between the European RCEs, and then partnerships with RCEs globally have been another feature over the last period, and we continue to want that to strengthen. How do we work? Well, really, the words collaboration and communication are at the center of that. Again, through partnership. We have annual regional meetings, online and in person, but we also connect monthly in Connect sessions, which are hosted by RCEs, different RCEs, and the importance too of having our youth coordinators as shared roles, so not just one youth coordinator, but sharing across a number of RCEs, and then working through strategic working groups that have been identified at regional meetings, and our current working groups focus on partnership, communication, events, research, and youth. Essentially, we, I think, as European RCEs, believe in collaboration and that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Opportunities ahead, really, then, are through partnerships. So strengthening our partnerships locally, regionally, and globally, that's really going to be the way ahead in the context of the global frameworks that are current, the SDGs, but also emerging. And to do this, we will need to find resource, and that resource may be dedicated European resources, which will support development of these partnerships, support knowledge sharing, capacity building, and provide access to resources for RCEs in Europe. And we, like other RCEs, realize that actually the future is our young people. And so we have engagement of young people, but deepening that engagement will be the way for the future.
Thank you, Betsy, for your very comprehensive overview of what European RCEs has been doing. Now we move on to more engaging conversation, because I see from the front of the all participants, and I can see some of you are suffering from jet lag. So if you want to have a stretch, just do some stretch, you know. I can see nodding. Yes. Okay, so I would like to open a discussion session with our distinguished panelists, also the regional advisors here. I will first start with Professor Takemoto here, because I think for you, you must be very proud looking at all this, your baby grown up, this 20 years old now, and then becoming this big family. Right, and you can see each region has their own mechanism, their own governance system. We didn't even, UNUIS didn't even ask them to do, but then they are self-sustaining now. It's very, very, you must be very, very proud of this child becoming 20 years old. So I would like to ask a question actually from a founding director of this UN, for this RCE movement. What do you think is the engine for this remarkable growth for the last 20 years for the RCEs?
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here with you, and also I'm very honored to be as one of the panelists together with regional advisors, and also to come back to the RCE family. Then I would like to do my best to respond to your relatively tough question. However, it is really very important to think over what is the driving force or the engines to develop this RCE in a global scale. I think let me begin with the major global framework or initiative on ESD. Already, the global framework has been already shared, but just quickly, one by one. First, DESD, the decade from 2005 through 2014, followed by Global Action Program, then the ESD for 2030 framework. At the same time, UN resolution, SDGs, was adopted. That is the remarkable progress in the context of global framework. This is the first point to share with you. Then I would like to share with you three engines to develop to realize such the very good progress in terms of RCE throughout the world. First thing is the clear concept, clear strong concept for RCE. As you have been already shared, in this morning, Professor Drew Razak shared with us how the concept of RCE was developed together with Professor Hans Hinkel, as well as Professor Zachary as well. Then the original concept is local ownership and a bottom-up approach rather than a top-down approach. It aims to address local challenges by making full use of local resources. This is really important, and as John Wee said, self-sufficient and also the management by themselves. That is the very important concept. This fundamental thought has provided a strong basis for their sustainable growth around the world. Otherwise, we cannot remain or keep this momentum. Once again, addressing local issues by making full use of their own resources. Second point is alignment with the global frameworks. As I shared with you, the global framework year by year, beginning with the SD, followed by GAP, then the ESD for 2030, at the same time SDGs. These, the global framework helped us in developing in sound manner. And luckily, RCE have played a significant and active role in translating global visions into local actions. Once again, under these global frameworks, RCE has the position to contribute to realize or achieve these targets stated by the global frameworks. Third point is leadership and legitimacy by United Nations University. As already it was also shared in this morning, UNU has consistently demonstrated its leadership by hosting RCE Global Service Center and mobilizing intellectual resources and networks, namely the facilitating project, convening global and regional conferences together with the regional host. Then to take care of RCE activities day to day. The commitment by this UNU has secured legitimacy on the RCE initiative as a whole. This is why international community accept the whole RCE initiative to support. This is the 3 engines with what I would like to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Takemoto. I don't think I can summarize better than you for these 3 engines for this growth from 5 members to 100 members now for the last 20 years. So thank you very much for your great summary and insights. So we are also going to share some of the findings from the book that you saw this morning launched by my director, Professor Yamaguchi. And can you show the, yes. So this is actually, I mean, as you've seen and listening to our regional advisors here from each region, you could see probably there are some similarities and differences in different regions, right? And this is what we found from 383 projects that our RC members submitted to us between 2020 to 2024. 4 years of projects we analyzed. And as you could see, how they identified the association of SDGs for their project were quite different from region to region, right? And if you look at Africa, SDG number 1, no poverty, health and well-being, and climate action were the main 3 priority SDGs. For Europe, it was health and well-being, sustainable city, and life on land. For Americas, it was sustainable city, climate action, and partnership. And finally, for Asia Pacific, it was sustainable city, responsible consumption, and partnership. So you could see there are some similar or common SDGs, but not exactly, one SDG that are cutting across, right? Even for climate action, it was more African Americas, and the other, of course, they talked about it, but not in the top 3 priority areas. So I would like to actually frame the next segment of our discussion around this, asking our regional advisors to share with us whether this really reflects what you have observed in your region, the movements around the SDGs, or is it different? So I would like to invite any of you to come to share your views on these patterns.
Thank you. I think this is very interesting research and analysis. I was very interested to see the results for Europe and somewhat surprised. I think probably underpinning, I think we're all working on SDG 4, so that's given us a red. In Europe, I think that our activities are many and various, and also I think that it's quite important to think of the SDGs as being connected, interconnected, and to separate out 1 or 2 SDGs is very difficult and maybe not that helpful. I personally love the connection of the 5 Ps and that visual of connecting peace, planet, prosperity, partnership. Have I missed one? Those 5 connected are, I think, the way that in Europe our projects, and certainly thinking of our projects in RCE Scotland, that's how we see this. Having said that, I do think that the other visual I love from the SDGs is the wedding cake, where you have at the bottom those SDGs that relate to the ecosystem, essentially. And so that idea that the ecosystem, everything, the life on our planet, and that's land and sea, that underpins everything that we do. So I would say, looking at the analysis, that life on land, yes, also life in sea, because that underpins those other two. without those other two, a lot of us do live in cities and in regions, and health and well-being, those two are important. So I think probably that's where that analysis comes from. But personally, I prefer to see them interconnected.
Right, yeah, thank you very much, Betsy. So if you would like to see the full picture, you have to download the publication, right? Because as you, Betsy mentioned, we didn't ask them to single out one or two SDGs. So if you can see the full graphs that's included in the publication by region, you can see it's actually multiple kind of selections of different SDGs for one project. So for one project, they chose probably 5, 6 SDGs that they see the associations, right? So it's not just one SDG that we are asking them to single out, but you have to see the full publication. Please download. Yeah, Roger.
Yes, so no, very good. So yeah, I enjoyed the analysis, and again, this self-study provided by the UNU with this analysis is very helpful. I think the one of all those three that's really important in the Americas is partnerships for the goals, because the Americas, of course, we've got this colonial history that created major divisions. And so the opportunities then to, for example, engage and bridge indigenous communities and non-indigenous communities are massive, and the need for reconciliation around that. The other thing is there's major political divides between urban and rural areas. So again, there's a real opportunity for bridging between those groups. I think the other thing that we have too is, and maybe this comes to the sustainable cities part, a lot of the leadership in the Americas has occurred at the city level, partly because of the capacity of the universities located there, the NGOs located there. There's just a critical capacity, but also because we have these federal states where education is a provincial or state responsibility over massive territories. The federal governments connect to the UN systems, but those state level ones don't. So what that means in the Americas is if your own state or provincial government isn't necessarily showing leadership, then there's this grassroots opportunity for RCs to mobilize, but it's typically urban environments that are doing that. So I think that's a critical piece. And then finally, the ability to connect universities to communities, that's the really valuable thing, because there's a mutual legitimation that goes on. Oftentimes in our RCEs, the community folks aren't necessarily getting the respect, they're sustainability practitioners, and it's, oh, well, somebody from the university came out and, oh, now they're getting respect. Similarly, the people within universities and post-secondary who are working on sustainable development, it's often off the side of their desk, but when the community is brought in, all of a sudden, oh, wait a second, now the scholar is also getting recognition within their environment. So there's this mutually symbiotic relationship that's really needed in the Americas.
Right, yeah, great, thank you. It was actually what Professor Zhu this morning was saying, without solving the local issues, the research is no use, right? Actually, the roles of universities is really, really important in our RC community. Maybe Catherine, we have a distinctive one SDG that pops out in Africa is no poverty. Do you have any insights on how RCEs are actually contributing to this no poverty SDGs?
Thank you, Jung. I want to identify with these results, the three that have been SDGs that have been identified: no poverty, the well-being, and the climate action. Africa is very vulnerable to the issues of climate change. We just need one season of drought, and the areas, say like for pastoralists, their animals are wiped out. And if this farmer has invested, because that is their livelihood, their pastoralists say, and if all his animals are wiped out, then he goes back to zero. then he has nothing else that he can rely on, nothing else that can support him, can support his family. So then his well-being is wiped out. So these three are really interwoven, and they are really key. Then sometimes these floods the droughts are followed by floods. So that again pushes him further. So it is a cycle. And then, therefore, you find that the Africans who are affected by this, which is a greater part, most of the areas are quite dry. So they go back, they are displaced. When they are displaced, they feel further. Then the children will not go back to school. So their learning is affected. Then their growth is affected. So you find that this is a cycle. And then now we are seeing the certification now advancing. Temperatures are rising. All these issues are affecting the African person. And therefore there is a lot of need to see how do we get out of this cycle? How do communities get out of this? Therefore, they are trying projects here, innovations, and there is a lot of need to support this so that we can support the local adaptations that can help build the resilience of these communities. And we see this ESD because it brings in a whole community approach that can help build the resilience of people by getting educated, getting aware, having solutions, local solutions that can help the community build their resilience.
Thank you very much, Catherine. It's really insightful that you share with us the three key SDGs are actually very much interlinked, and it creates a cycle for the African region. So thank you very much for sharing that. On the contrary, actually, in Asia Pacific, we can see responsible consumption here when we are talking about climate change and poverty cycle in Africa. So would you like to share your insight on this?
Well, your office analyzed that Asia Pacific has these three SDG aspects, along with this consumption you mentioned about urbanization. You know, as I mentioned earlier, Asia Pacific is very wide area, diversity. You know, people are talking about this poverty in Africa, but according to UN report, actually 60% of global poor living in Asia, Southwest Asia. Nobody really mentioned about Southwest Asian poor. So we have to a bit, deal with that issue. But along with that, since for the last 30 years or so, Asia has been really, starting to, except those poor areas, we begin to more, modernize it and industrialize. That brings up urbanization quite a lot. And through this urbanization, this consumption and production, to be sustainable become a big issue. It's very much connected. So Asian countries, because even these days it's really changing through China and India and so many populations. But in schools and in community level, we have to realize how to adjust to this kind of big, rapid change of industrialization into our community life, in our daily life. So as Jules mentioned, in Asia Pacific region, I think we have to more rely on how to adjust to this industrialization through urbanization and in school and house and everything, and move in our daily life through this change. And of course, partnership is everywhere, actually. Partnership is always located last in every UN decision. So this time 17 again. So partnership is necessary everywhere, not only Asia Pacific.
Thank you very much for your sharing insight. Actually, for this analysis, sustainable city stood out really. If you remember, we also published a analysis report for the period of 2015 to 2019, the Global Action Program period. And at that time, actually, Sustainable City was not in the top 3 list. But this time, for these 5 years, we've seen this Sustainable City as one of the top 3. Actually, it was at the top priority for all the regions, actually. And another distinctive or remarkable finding was, can you see the next slide? So this one. So I also have a question for our regional advisors as well. Because if you see what is this is the leadership of each project that they reported, right? So the blue bar, the dark blue bar is the current period that we published in the new publication. The light blue bar is from the GAP period, Global Action Program period, which is 2015 to 2019. You see the difference, right? What would be the difference? Do you see? Yeah, right. So NGO actually skyrocketed in their leadership, while higher education became really reduced in their leadership. And we found this as one of the top 2 most interesting kind of findings from our new publication. Again, the full publication you can download and then look at the regional kind of variance as well. But I would like to ask these questions to every one of you, including Takemoto sensei. Like, how do you see this shift as opportunity or challenge for the next 5 to 10 years of RCEs? Do you see it, the shift of leadership from higher education to NGOs, be a opportunity or challenge?
Can I start? Yes, please. Actually, this big switch toward NGO level means a lot of local participation. We had, Corona pandemic period. During those periods, a lot of higher education, university has been shut down, and they have having, some fundraising problem. While in the community level, you have to live on. You have to see what's going on around you. So they just start to build up, their own decision to engage in to solve the problems. So I think, as Jules mentioned earlier, in the future, every single member in this planet should be responsible for his or her life. So that makes the NGO participation will be more prosperous in the future.
Thank you very much for sharing your insight. And Roger is ready to share, I think.
I think it is fascinating. I think part of it too, we have to think about where we were in the early 2000s around education for sustainable development. And we were really just pioneering new scholarly methods. So it wasn't a surprise, I think, that universities played a leadership role there. But once those qualitative methods and so on have percolated throughout the community, well then, of course, NGOs embrace those and are pioneering them themselves. And so I don't think it's a surprise. I think what will be interesting, there might be a pendulum switch again, though, because with AI, all of a sudden you've got people needing to think, well, how are we teaching in universities? And it will be a shift to place-based learning, action-oriented learning, all of the things that have been said. So all of a sudden, you've got universities having to reinvent themselves around all of these things, and that's a massive capacity that they can now again bring to the table. The other challenge might be with the NGOs. So social entrepreneurialism and those kinds of structures work well when there's relative abundance. But if you've got an NGO that's brokering a number of other partners, but the NGO is also needing to get its resources, and then the partners are saying, well, we need our resources, you could end up getting a bit of tension with that model where you have a decline in resources. What is really important, though, is that RCEs were built really around a voluntary model of production applied to scholarship. And of course, NGOs should do very well with that model because we were using NGOs as the way of doing new forms of scholarship. It's just like with the rise of science. All of a sudden, it was the business community that did very well with the rise of science, but that's partly because science as a model is built around how business looks at scholarship. I mean, how you would do it. So really, the NGOs are just reaping the fruit of their own model from a scholarly perspective.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Can I probably hear from Professor Takemoto? Did you see this coming when you created the RCE 20 years ago?
Sure. I see this diagram. It is very interesting from the viewpoint of systematic viewpoint. The structures, the global frameworks, which I have shared in my first intervention. Under the GAP Global Action Program in 2015 through 2019, it was created before SDGs was adopted, if I am correct. And in order to follow up decade, and UNESCO created the new agenda or global agenda to catch up this global trend. And then at the beginning, DESD, as Zhu shared with us, we relied on the IAU network to mobilize the global networks of the universities. In this regard, this is naturally, we rely on university-driven. And in this regard, the GAP GAP was the aimed to fulfill the gap, the so-called from the beginning of 2015 to 2019. At the same time, the SDGs has been realized or the materialized in the local basis. Then the RCE in the position to follow up another framework, which is ESD for 2030. That is a solid position to making full use of RCE to address or achieve SDGs entire goals. That is the totally different picture what RCE wish to address. This is my observation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Takemoto. It's very systematic. How you see this trend was very systematic. Thank you very much. And Catherine and Betsy, briefly to share your insights on this.
I can share. Shall I?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe we can hear from Catherine for the African NGO perspective, maybe?
Yeah, thank you. I think the NGOs have risen up. What I see when I look back, who are these? These are people that have also, most of them were there when we started this discussion. They have grown and they want to do something, maybe outside of the university or outside government. Because there is that provision for the community, the NGOs, they are free, they can access funding sometimes more easily, because there are a lot of support that comes through to the funding sometimes. So I find they are easier to access and implement projects. And what the community wants are impact or some action, which sometimes takes long to come through from the universities or from government. So because of that accessibility, and then also some knowledge, some capacity building, because as we've been discussing, people are getting educated, aware, and they want to take action. So that is how I see this also contributing for the rise in the NGO, and they are just within the RCEs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, NGO as kind of implementing arms, as many of you have said, they probably got the capacity built already from the higher education institutions to, self-sustain their NGOs and all. And Betsy, would like to share other?
Yeah, I do think it's a very interesting analysis too, and I think going back to that very inspiring keynote speech, just thinking about what is the purpose of education and what is the purpose of universities. And I think the purpose of, or one of the purposes is to use research and education to address global challenges. But actually RCEs, often universities need to demonstrate impact and they can't do it themselves. And so that is the value of RCEs with their links with universities. As you say, COVID, there have been financial difficulties within universities, changes within universities. Our RCEs are partnerships, and partnership is really the most important aspect of our work, multi-stakeholder partnership. And so we need universities in that partnership. We can't do without the universities' evidence base, and they do lend credibility to our RCEs. But do they have to be hosted in universities? Maybe not. But I do think, I think they are an important partner, and we couldn't have RCEs without having that important research base.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing your great insights. So I think we have more questions, but we ran out of time, and we are standing between you and the lunchtime. So we will actually summarize our discussion on this one question for every one here. I would like to actually share your vision for your region. In 10 years from now, in one sentence, can you share with us what would you like to see in your RCEs in your regions, or from your RCEs in your region? What would you like to see? Maybe starting from Catherine.
I would like to see a self-sustaining or self-sustaining RCEs that are able to address local challenges. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we keep doing the same, similar, impactful activities to translate the global agenda into local action, right? And Roger?
So yeah, as a philosopher, I took this quite literally, but unfortunately it's a long sentence. So the sentence: RCEs in the Americas will take a pioneering role in building bridges between diverse communities and language groups, combining traditional and indigenous knowledge and older knowledges grounded in ethics with cutting-edge knowledge production and consumption processes customized to ecosystems and the cultures and livelihood practices of specific regions, while sharing innovative and transformative educational strategies between regions that enable all types of organizations to participate in a shift to sustainable livelihoods and lifestyles. Oh. There it is.
We needed that vision statement for RCE. Thank you very much. Betsy? For Europe.
So for Europe, my hope is to see a strong and active ongoing network of RCEs, with each RCE bringing together partnerships, responding to their own context, but also working collaboratively and collectively too with others in Europe and also globally. And I think the global connection as today is so important. Together we are more than the sum of our parts. And I take that quote from one of our conferences run by RCE Friesland. I think it's a really important concept for Europe, and I hope globally, and able to respond to all the challenges that are known, but also unknown that lie ahead. So.
Thank you, Betsy.
Okay, I will follow your direction of very short one sentence. In Korea, these days, there's one way of explaining things is using the initials, making a poem. So,
R,
revive,
C,
community,
E.
environmentally safe and sound. That's my.
Thank you very much. And Professor Takemoto, would you like to share with us
Sure.
your vision 10 years down the road for RCE that
Thank
you
you.
gave birth to?
Okay, thank you very much. In 10 years from now, my sentence as follows. The current regional youth coordinators will play a leading role in their RCEs and contribute to the global ESD community in their respective professional capacity. This is
Thank you, that's great. Thank you very much. Right, yeah, that's really a great sum up of this session. I hope this session actually set the stage for the rest of the 2-day conference and 2.5-day actually conference. And we hear really great stories from each region. And I just want to reiterate one of the quotes from our RCE regional advisors. We are more than sum of the parts. So let's work together and let's implement this vision that our regional advisors just shared today. Thank you very much for your attention and enjoy your conference. Thank you. And we have one announcement actually for the next plenary session, which is a bit complicated. So,
yeah, I really hate to be the last barrier between you and your lunch, but we have this beautiful red QR code that you will see right at the entrance to this room. Plenary session 2 will be more interactive, so we want to hear from you. We have around 180 participants on site, so we expect 180 online responses to our survey. It's a quick 5-question survey. Thank you very much. If you can fill it out before joining plenary session 2, we will really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nafisa. Let's give a big round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That was a really stimulating plenary session. I've learned a lot of challenges and futures from various perspectives of different countries. Thank you very much, Dr. Chong-Wee Park and distinguished speakers. Thank you very much again.